He walked into the bar looking like a man life had pushed to its very edge. Unkempt beard, torn jacket, a tiredness sitting deep in his bones. No one would have guessed he was a millionaire. No one could imagine that the man who now looked hungry, cold, and forgotten actually owned the very building he had stepped into. But today wasn't about wealth. Today was about truth, about seeing his business exactly the way people who had nothing were treated. Yet from the moment he sat down, he noticed something unsettling. Some staff members avoided his table, pretending not to see him. A few patrons turned to stare, their faces forming assumptions he had seen far too often in society. Assumptions tied to appearance, and sometimes tied to race. But then something unexpected happened. A young waitress approached, warmth in her eyes and a small yet genuine smile on her face. She didn't flinch at his appearance, didn't judge his clothes, didn't hesitate. She asked if he was hungry. He whispered that he had no money. But instead of turning away like others had, she quietly placed a meal in front of him. Hot food. Clean drink, and a kindness that felt both shocking and deeply human. What she didn't know was that her response, simple, compassionate, fearless, was about to change both of their lives, and what he discovered next left him completely. Wait speechless. Wait speechless. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Marcus Hale wasn't born wealthy. He had grown up in neighborhoods where hunger wasn't an accident. It was a routine. A place where people judged you by your skin color before they ever heard your story. Every success he achieved was carved through hardship. When he finally became a millionaire, he promised himself one thing. His businesses would treat every person with dignity, rich or poor, black or white, clean or dirty. His newest venture, a stylish bar and grill, had gained popularity fast. It was successful, too successful. Because along with financial success came troubling rumors. Customers without fancy clothes weren't treated well. Immigrants and minorities felt invisible. And anyone who looked poor was often left without a smile. Marcus refused to ignore this. The fear that his own business might be failing the values he fought for haunted him, so he decided to go undercover. No one recognized him when he entered that evening. His beard untrimmed, clothes worn, hands cold from walking instead of driving. That was precisely what he wanted. He took a seat at the counter, one often used by customers looking for affordable meals or just warmth. Marcus observed quietly. Some customers received warm greetings, friendly service, and fast orders. But when the staff passed him, they acted as though he wasn't even there. Until she arrived, the waitress from the photo. Professional uniform, neat apron, but a softness in her. Gaze that broke through the noise of assumptions around them. She didn't ask why he looked the way he did. She didn't judge his silence. She didn't hesitate to care. Little did she know she was serving not just a customer, but the owner himself. The bar buzzed with chatter, clinking glasses, and laughter. But at Marcus's end of the counter there was silence, aside from the gentle voice of the waitress who had decided to serve him. Her name tag read Amina. She moved with purpose, kindness guiding her every step. Marcus watched as she balanced plates, juggled orders, and checked on customers. But what stood out wasn't her efficiency, it was her fairness. She didn't prioritize the wealthy-looking patrons. She didn't treat men in suits differently from the man in ragged clothes. She treated everyone equally. He noticed something else, too. Some coworkers whispered about him. One server muttered that people like him shouldn't sit at the counter. Another snickered about giving him leftover scraps instead of a full meal. Their eyes darted toward his skin, his clothes, his appearance. But every time Amina overheard it, she shut it down with a stern look, not aggressive, but firm enough to silence ignorance. Marcus watched closely. When he confessed to her that he had no money, something flickered in her expression. Surprise, yes, but not disgust. Her heart didn't shut down like others. Instead, she said, "If you're hungry, please eat." She brought him a hot plate of fries, a main dish, and even a dessert cup. She placed a glass of clean water beside it, careful and gentle. And when he tried to refuse, embarrassed, she shook her head softly and walked away, giving him dignity. But he wasn't the only one watching. A manager stood at a distance, displeased. He whispered angrily to another staff member, "Why is she wasting food on him?" Marcus felt the sting of that comment, not for himself, but for every struggling person who had been dismissed, judged or mistreated in this very place. Amina continued working, unaware that the man she was helping was silently evaluating the entire system. She offered more kindness throughout the evening, checking on him without making him feel pitied, keeping her tone gentle, ensuring he felt human again, something rare in a world that quickly devalues those who appear poor, especially those with darker skin. Marcus felt emotions rising in him, not sadness, but gratitude. Mixed with disappointment in the staff he once trusted, he needed to see how far this imbalance ran, and soon he'd have his answer. When Amina stepped away to serve another table, the manager finally confronted Marcus. "This seat is for paying customers. You can't stay here," he said sharply. The room fell silent. Marcus slowly reached into his jacket pocket. The manager scoffed, expecting excuses or pleas, but instead Marcus placed his owner's ID card on the counter. The manager froze, his face drained of color. A server dropped a tray behind him in shock. The customers near him stared, whispering. Amina turned, eyes widening in disbelief. The man they pitied, the man they judged, the man they tried to push out, was the millionaire owner of the entire establishment. A wave of shame rippled through the staff. But Marcus didn't raise his voice. He said, "I came to see how people are treated when they have nothing. And tonight, I learned everything." Marcus asked Amina to join him in the office. She paced, unsure of what fate awaited her. But he only smiled gently and said, "You reminded me what kindness looks like." He praised her openly, then asked her to tell him honestly how often she'd seen unfair treatment in the bar. Amina hesitated, then revealed everything about how some staff ignored customers who looked poor, how racial assumptions shaped service, and how her warnings were ignored. Marcus listened with a heavy heart. That night he held an emergency meeting. He confronted the biased behavior directly, calm but firm. Training was mandated. Monitoring increased. The toxic manager was suspended. And Amina? She was promoted to shift supervisor, a position she had long deserved. Before leaving, Marcus thanked her again for reminding him of the humanity he wanted his business to stand for. Amina's eyes softened with gratitude, but she said softly, "I just did what anyone should." Marcus knew the truth. Not everyone would have. As he walked out into the night, he felt renewed, not because he exposed injustice, but because he found someone still willing to fight it, and he left viewers with one powerful thought. If you walked into a place looking poor, would they still treat you with respect? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life lessons. Tell me, where are you watching from and which city do you belong to? Take care.